We went through a lot of stuff yesterday on the very first episode of AI for those of you over 50. If you're here today, welcome. If you're born before 1975 or before, you're probably in the right place. If you're born after that, I'll give you a couple of years or so, but then maybe you might be a little too young for this because there is a lot of reference to our beginnings in my age group here. I'm 56, and a lot of things have actually, a lot of exciting things. Just listen to 80s music and you'll get what I'm saying. All right, so welcome back. This is episode 2 of our 17-part briefing on artificial intelligence for those of us born in the mid-70s. I'm Connor McIver. So remember, those heavy Encyclopedia Britannica and other encyclopedia sets that our parents bought, you'd spend a Saturday afternoon flipping through the M volume to write a report on Mars. Of course, that was static data. It sat on a shelf and it gathered dust. In fact, as I recall, there were many, we were missing 2 or 3 volumes, and it always seemed those volumes were the ones that I needed most when it came to doing some kind of research paper. So then what was our next step growing up? Well, now you go to the library, and where I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, we had one library, and maybe the same thing in your hometown. I don't know. Now there seems to be a library for every city. Well, depends on where you are, at least in Southern California. I'm not sure who goes to them anymore, but anyway, so that is where that is. But we're dealing with AI. It's something that just didn't read the encyclopedia. It's read every book, every court transcript, every technical manual, and most importantly, every snarky comment ever left on a message board since 1995. This is the large language model, or LLM. It's like the library is alive and it's been watching us for 30 years to kind of give you a little bit of an understanding. Now, you might be wondering, Connor, how did it get so smart? It's called scraping. Think of it as a digital detective going through the trash of the entire internet. Everything we uploaded, the photos, the blogs, the reviews, it was all used as a training set. So it's seen the worst of us and it's seen the best of us and everything in between. That's what it learned from. For us over 50, we remember a time when if you wanted to know something, you needed to ask a human or find a physical book. A lot of us went to our parents. I don't know how many kids actually go to their parents anymore. That seems to be kind of a dying event, literally. But now the AI uses neural networks to predict the next word in a sentence based on billions of sentences it's read. And it's not thinking like we do, but it's simulating intelligence so well that the line is starting to blur. Just a caveat off script here for a second. This imagination, this point of human beings seeing something other than ourselves, that is pretty remarkable in our brain's architecture. Being able to opine, strategize, dream about tomorrow, that's kind of a big deal. When you're outside space and time, if you were, let's say, to try to explain to an angel, for example, if that exists, what time was, or waiting for a couple weeks, it would be confusing because it's outside of time. And again, that's so beyond us, we don't understand. At least I don't follow that. But that's where this is. These neural networks are actually simulating intelligence, and it'll be at a point where we're going to have to ask ourselves the question, well, is it conscious? If it simulates consciousness, and again, we have to define that too, but if it does, I don't think we're going to be able to notice the difference. It can simulate empathy. It can take care of somebody that's has a death sentence and some type of illness very well. We see that already happening. It can be much more empathetic, much more patient, much more aligned with this person than an actual human, which is interesting. And I guess it depends on the human. There's probably some great ones in that realm, but something to consider. So here is where our generation has the edge. We grew up with bullies. We grew up with stranger danger. And as a 20-year LAPD veteran, 20-year LAPD veteran, I can tell you, BS is absolutely everywhere. AI is a world-class mimic. It can write a poem like Frost or a legal brief like a Supreme Court justice, but it can also hallucinate. That's the industry term for when AI just flat out lies to you because it thinks that It's a word that you want to hear next. So if you're over 50, you have a built-in detect and report system. You know when a deal sounds too good to be true. You know when somebody's working you. In the AI age, you can't lose that. You have to treat every AI response like a witness statement. Verify the facts, check the motives, and never, ever take it at face value. Now, that being said, there's a lot of AI slop. That's what they've termed all the videos that are being put out there. And some of them are cute, right? Some of them are funny. But some people see these, and especially the ones that might have certain religious, political, gender, whatever biases involved, and it becomes a big part of your feed. If you hang a little bit too long, or if it's something you might like to see, it becomes part of that, and it's feeding you that every time you get on one of these social media networks. And for the weaker minded, not of course you folks watching this because you're my generation, we're all strong as steel, we're never fooled, but for the weaker minded, it's something to definitely be weary of. And if you have people like that in your family, maybe you have other relatives that aren't strong-willed like you, and they're coming to you and they're saying, I saw so-and-so say this, and I can't believe that he would actually say something like that. I think it's up to us maybe to have them ask themselves the question, well, do you really believe it's true? Because there's so many things that are going to be generated, that have been generated, that you really can't tell whether they're true or not. And that's a problem, especially for some people that take it at face value and then go off and run on a complete rant and lose sleep and don't eat and fight with people over something that isn't even true. So verify the facts, check the motives, and definitely take everything at face value. So, we used to look at a Sears catalog, if you remember. Montgomery Ward's had a catalog to see what we wanted to buy. The Christmas editions, now that we're getting close to Christmas, 2025, we're at the 23rd of December when I'm doing this. They were lovely, right? I mean, every kid looked forward to it. You get the smell of the ink on the printed page and looking at the toys and things your parents would never get you, and then just hoping. And sometimes, depending on your upbringing, you might have had one that came through, either mom or dad, or somebody might have, kind of put that surprise in the closet, buried under all their crap, wrapped in a nice gift. Yeah, that was good. And I know we probably tried to do that with our kids to a point. But, today the AI looks at us to decide what we're going to buy before we even know we want it. It's very, very smart. So when we sign those terms of service agreements to get on Facebook or to set up a new smart TV, I talked about this yesterday, we essentially gave the machine the key to our house. It knows your gait, your voice, your shopping habits, and your political leanings. That's why the late to the party crowd needs to be careful. We are the most targeted demographic because we actually have the assets the world wants. You're sitting on a guaranteed paycheck every month, potentially. That's something that people are going to seek out and try to take from you. Now, in the next few episodes, we're going to talk about agents. More than just a chat bot you talk to. These are digital employees. These are a new workforce, if you will. Some coin it as the replacement of workers. That would be us if you still have some kind of a job you go to. And in the next few episodes, we're going to get into that. Imagine an assistant that doesn't sleep, doesn't need a coffee break, and can coordinate your entire life from booking your doctor's appointments to auditing your business expenses. For those of us still working, this is how we compete with the 20-year-olds. We don't need to work faster. We just need to architect better systems. This is a fast-moving storm. But we've survived the 80s and the 90s, the turn of the century, Y2K. Yeah, even in our very beginnings, they had the nuclear issue that came up. Well, I'm Connor McIver. I want you to stay curious, stay skeptical, but most importantly, stay aligned. I'll see you in episode 3, and that's going to be living at 3.honorelevate.com, number 3. This is number 2, so you'll be able to get to this particular broadcast at 2. Number 2.honorelevate.com. That's the URL. You punch that into the little place on Google there where you see the website address. Just punch it in. The number 2.honorelevate.com. honorelevate.com. Honor Elevate. All right, very good. Thank you for watching. We will see you in episode 3. We're going to dive into deep fakes and digital identities and try to show you guys and gals, if I can say that, how to protect your voice and your likeness from being stolen. If you ever get somebody calling you and they're not there and you're, hello, are you there? That could be a system that's trying to get your voice, a likeness of it, so it can use it against you later, saying that it's some relative imprisoned in some camp that needs bail money in some foreign country, and you need to hurry. So please, watch out for yourselves. I'm Connor. We'll see you in the next one.